All right, Gotham episode 4, Ruin, season 5. Uh, all right, this episode comes, of course, after the big explosion from the previous episode, and uh, immediately I just start responding to all the inconsistent behavior, character motivations, everything. Everything's just off in this episode. I mean, Gotham does this a lot. They're actually pretty consistent with being inconsistent. So that's pretty hilarious. But in terms of quality, it makes for a shit show. This episode, particularly after the explosion we saw that killed so many people, so many refugees, uh, Barbara still has her gun on Penguin. She could easily take him out because he killed her lover earlier. So killed her lover and friend and all that. She could easily take him out, but chooses not to, and she just vacates the scene. We get an explanation for that later. That's kind of lackluster and still doesn't fit in character with her excuse for not doing it was something like he has to that they need him to help with finding out who took out that building or whatever. Her excuse was pretty. It just she's a psychopath. Uh, and he murdered somebody she actually cares about. So I'm pretty sure that she would have just killed him, and it just didn't make sense to me. It doesn't line up with who the character is at all. That she would just spare him so he can help Gordon deal with this situation. Another thing that doesn't really add up is why Gordon keeps letting Penguin do so much. Do so much. It just goes back and forth between him and Penguin. Like, Penguin, does something bad, and then he does something kind of sort of good, but he does it for his own reasons, and then like he immediately tries to take power for it. And yeah, I mean, his kind of behavior is pretty consistent, but it doesn't make sense to me that Gordon would let him here do this again, which is help out, bring in a bunch of guns and go on a manhunt. But of course, Penguin turns it into something else, and it turns most of Gordon's people against him, and you just get into this silliness all the time. This really over the top, just silly show that's it's just ridiculous. It's very bad sometimes. It's laughable. It's laughable how bad it gets sometimes. So they they run into Zaz out there when they go on this manhunt for whoever blew up the building, and they get in a shootout with Zaz, and of course Zaz could blow any of their heads off. Really, they waste a lot of ammunition covering for Jim to run up in the building while they're distracting the Zaz. They really didn't have to waste that much ammunition. That was a little bit overboard and overkill, and another thing that was just cheesy and ridiculous. Um, so he gets up there, he beats down Zaz, and that's another thing that really bothers me in this kind of stuff is on here he's supposed to be like a professional assassin. To have someone like Jim Gordon take him down, that's it's pretty ridiculous. But they apprehend Zaz, and Penguin's all convinced that Zaz is the one that did it, despite there's no evidence to support that or anything. So Jim takes Zaz for himself, questions him, finds out that there's really no evidence to support that. And even when there is evidence to support that he's not there, Penguin just gets all overly emotional and turns the crowd of refugees against Gordon because they want a victim, they want someone to blame, and he tries to execute Zaz through a trial that the people are all in favor for. But Jim Gordon tries to intervene and tell him, the evidence supports it. it ain't him because whoever did it from a window. And that plays into a whole nother thing with Riddler, his whole side story, him waking up in strange places, leading him to the police station where he just sneaks right through the police station. That's another thing that stood out to me is that no, man, you're not gonna just walk into the police station. Everybody knows who you are. Bet Lucius Fox is the one person that finds them, and they sort of work together, and they both come up empty, and then they both come up, well, not necessarily empty. They do find out that whoever did it fired an RPG from the rooftop, and that's all they know. And Riddler doesn't get the information he wants from the file he requested, but he does figure things out from there that he was actually the one on the rooftop that blew up everything. So that's pretty dark for the Riddler. And he goes on to kill the witness that spotted him from the building on the other side. So I don't really know what's going on with him. If that's Edward or Riddler that did the blowing up, or if there's another personality involved here, they do kind of just like go back and forth through this whole Riddler who's in charge personality type stuff. But that was really the most interesting part of the episode because the other stuff didn't really make sense. The inconsistencies with characters and all that. I said Jim Gordon has to save Zaz and get him taken off site where they go to free him, but they kind of get a little standoff where he's about to kill Zaz if Zaz chooses to draw a weapon on him after Zaz makes a pretty crappy comment. But, Zaz kind of chickens out that I don't believe that it was hilarious, but I do not believe that in terms of being true to the character that Zaz would actually chicken out. Uh, he does make a comment in here, something about if he'd stop killing, he'd have his whole body covered in scars or something. Can't remember. It's been like 2 days since I watched the episode, but I've had a lot going on. So, uh, this review's coming in pretty late. But that comment was pretty interesting because in the comics he has those scars all over his body for all the people he kills when he runs around naked and stuff. Of course, you can't do a naked serial killer on the TV show running around butt ass naked slaughtering people all the time. That would be very entertaining, though. You could do that like on HBO or Showtime. Be like a Dexter series about Zaz. I think that would be awesome. Uh, but to have it from somebody else's, from the police department perspective, where this guy's always taunting them, calling them, and just, uh, all right, it could work from either way. Anyways, back to my point. So the stuff with Bruce Wayne is, uh, Jeremiah's followers like try to kill him early in the episode, and I didn't understand why they tried to do that because that doesn't make sense since Jeremiah kind of cares about Bruce Wayne in a best friend type way. Uh, I really didn't like all the Jeremiah stuff in this episode. We do get to see him, and I thought that was cool. And he does like a little dance and stuff with their version of Harley Quinn, which I still do not like. I still do not. I'm not on board with her depiction here. Uh, the portrayal or the actress, I'm not sure, but it doesn't feel like Harley Quinn to me. Enough like Harley Quinn. And Jeremiah is a bit less like, I don't know how to explain it, but he's a little off the rails now, showing signs of that type of stuff, where he's like talking to himself over stuff, and that was pretty interesting. But Selena Kyle ends up shanking the hell out of him and leaving him on the floor, presumably dead. Uh, I don't follow the trailers and the behind the scenes stuff, so I don't know. I don't know how much of this he's actually gonna be in, but that was pretty unexpected. And if he's coming back, that's gonna be difficult to explain that. Does that look like a definite kill right there? I mean, she shanked the hell out of him and left him on the floor dead. I do not believe that they'd be done with the character at this point, but like I said, I don't follow all the behind the scenes stuff and trailer stuff. I don't really want to because I don't want to spoil it for myself. And, it takes the impact away from TV shows and movies when you spoil it for yourself. It takes the impact that it would have had. Maybe you would have liked something more, maybe you would have liked something less. You never know. Uh, but, uh, you know, that whole thing there, I don't know where that's going to go. The Riddler thing, that was fascinating. The Barbara and Jim hooking up there at the end. I'm curious to if they're gonna go, if they're gonna have sex, and she's actually gonna get pregnant with Barbara Gordon. So I've always wondered, when's he gonna have his daughter? Where's his daughter? Why is he gonna name his daughter after this psychopath? Obviously, something's gotta happen there for him to want to name his daughter after this crazy psychopath. In the first season, you know, she didn't go that far off the rails where you could believe that he would name a daughter after her. But after the first season, she's gone so far. It's like, why the hell would you name your daughter after this? Uh, Anyways, overall, I thought the episode was pretty bad. Character motivations were inconsistent. I just I did not like anything but the Riddler stuff. All the other stuff is pretty negative in my opinion and pretty silly and pretty stupid, over the top, just very cheesy, some cringeworthy. But that's what you get 50% of the time from this show. It's half good, half bad. Uh are usually just that kind of bad that you can't help to like but to like. Uh just really cheesy B movie type stuff, even though they have it looks like they have a pretty good budget. It's just the way they write things and the way they play out things is silly. Anyways, I'll just get this episode like a 4 out of 10. Like, subscribe, check out my other videos. Stay awesome, rock on.